Galaxy Quest wasn't just another sci-fi parody. The Ghostbusters director quit overcasting. The villain was named after a critic the producer hated.
Then tell me, what does it do, this Omega-13?
And the words Sigourney Weaver says in that hallway are not the words you hear.
Well, screw that!
14 things you didn't know. Let's go. 1. The F word. They couldn't hide. Galaxy Quest was always going to be rated R. That was the plan. The film had adult language, adult humor, and a first cut that producer Mark Johnson later described as too dark and drama-heavy for the Christmas release DreamWorks had in mind. So they cut it down to PG. They dubbed the swearing. They softened the edges. They just forgot about Sigourney Weaver's mouth. Then in the Chompers scene, the hallway full of crushers that exist for no engineering reason anyone can explain, Weaver's lips form two very specific syllables while the audio track plays, "Screw that." Any lip reader catches it immediately. Johnson confirmed it publicly years later, telling MTV he regretted the decision. To this day, I'm sorry we made it PG rather than PG-13. We took out Sigourney Weaver's line. One of the best laughs in the movie. The R-rated cut exists somewhere. It reportedly included more profanity throughout and scenes that never made the theatrical version. Weaver has confirmed it. Nobody has found it. 2. Harold Ramis quit over Tim Allen, the Ghostbusters co-creator, the director of Caddyshack, National Lampoon's Vacation, and Groundhog Day. Harold Ramis was the first director attached to Galaxy Quest, and he walked out before a single frame was shot. The reason? Casting. Ramis wanted Alec Baldwin for the lead. DreamWorks insisted on Tim Allen. Ramis didn't agree, couldn't make it work, and departed in February 1999. The film had 3 weeks until it needed a director. Dean Parisot, who had recently made a small Drew Barrymore movie called Home Fries, got the call and took it. Weaver's reaction to hearing Ramis didn't want anyone with science fiction experience in the cast. I said, "That's silly, because if anyone can spoof science fiction, surely it's me." She campaigned for the role anyway. Allen himself later said the version of the film Ramis pitched felt more like Spaceballs. They wanted an action star doing comedy rather than a comedian doing an action film. Ramis left. Parisot took it. The film won the Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation. Everything worked out. 3. The villain was named after a critic who panned the producer RAMIS, the reptilian warlord, the film's main antagonist, shares his surname with Andrew Sarris, one of the most influential American film critics of the 20th century. This was not a coincidence. Sarris had been publicly critical of producer Mark Johnson's previous film, The Natural. Johnson's response was measured, proportional, and took about 15 years to execute. He named the villain of his next major hit after him. The critic reviewed films. The producer made the villain of a beloved science fiction comedy carry his name permanently in the credits. Andrew Sarris, for the record, was a genuine titan of American film criticism who introduced the auteur theory to U.S. audiences. He also once annoyed a producer enough to become a reptilian warlord. Both things are true. 4. Alan Rickman initially hated the idea. When Galaxy Quest first came to Alan Rickman, his reaction was skepticism. He was a Shakespearean actor with serious stage credentials. A silly science fiction comedy did not obviously fit what he was trying to build. Tim Allen sensed the friction from the first days of shooting. 5 days after Rickman died in 2016, Allen wrote about it in The Hollywood Reporter. "I don't think he liked me all that much when we first started shooting. I was doing penis jokes right up to action. He was doing voice stretching." Director Dean Parisot witnessed the gap close slowly over the shoot. He recalled one day when Allen came out of a particularly emotional scene completely shaken. He says, "I don't like these feelings I'm having. I'd like to go back to the trailer," Parisot remembered. Rickman, watching this unfold, said quietly, "Oh my God, I think he just experienced acting." What Rickman eventually understood about Alexander Dane, the Shakespearean actor trapped in a lizard prosthetic despising his own catchphrase, was that the role was about him, about dignity, about what it costs to be dismissed. By the end of the shoot, they were friends. 5. By GRABTHAR'S hammer was a placeholder Robert Gordon, the screenwriter, never intended for Alexander Dane's catchphrase to be, "By GRABTHAR'S hammer, by the sons of Warvan, you shall be avenged." He wrote it as a temp line, a placeholder. Something absurd and over the top that he planned to replace with something better before the film went into production. Then the crew started using it, around the offices, in conversation. Someone had it printed on t-shirts. It spread through the production before anyone officially decided to keep it. Gordon couldn't think of anything funnier, so it stayed. By GRABTHAR'S hammer won the Hugo Award along with the rest of the film. It became one of the most quoted lines in science fiction comedy history. It is the emotional climax of the film's most devastating scene. It was a temp line that nobody replaced. 6. Colantoni invented the Thermians himself. Enrico Colantoni loved the script. Before his audition, he spent days developing a complete theory of how the Thermian aliens would move, speak, and experience the world. His idea: the Thermians are shapeshifters who don't naturally have bodies with joints. In their human form, they would be constantly slightly surprised by their own biology, by having knees, having elbows, having the specific resistance of human musculature. Every movement would carry a faint quality of discovery. He called them happy Jehovah's Witnesses, beings who experience everything with complete love and acceptance, absorbing the world through pure wonder. At the end of his audition, he offered a possible voice for the species. Director Pariseau heard it and knew immediately. Colantoni's voice became the template every other Thermian actor was measured against during the rest of casting. One actor's pre-audition theory built the entire alien civilization. 7. Thermian school was a real thing. Once Colantoni had established the Thermian template, the rest of the alien cast needed to learn it. They attended Thermian school. Rainn Wilson, Enrico Colantoni, Missy Pyle, Jed Reese, and the other Thermian actors spent a week in pre-production working on the specific physicality of beings who had only recently acquired human bodies. The particular walk, arms and legs moving forward together, emerged partly from the restrictive silver suits they were wearing. Something about lifting an arm while wearing the suit brought the corresponding leg up with it. The costume dictated the movement. The movement became the character. Wilson, who was making his feature film debut, arrived on set already intimidated by the principal cast. Standing in front of Sigourney Weaver, Tim Allen, and Alan Rickman, while trying to deliver technical-sounding alien dialogue for the first time, he froze. A theater actor who prided himself on knowing his lines. He simply could not get them out. He recovered, but he remembered it for 20 years. 8. Spielberg was on set for a day. Steven Spielberg visited the set of Galaxy Quest during production. He was there long enough to watch the casting of the Thermians, see Missy Pyle in her full alien makeup and performance, and make a suggestion. His suggestion: expand Laliari's role. Give her more screen time. Develop the romantic subplot between Laliari and Fred Kwan. And Pyle had originally been written into 2 scenes. Spielberg saw what she was doing and thought it deserved more room. The production agreed. Her character grew. The alien romance that audiences found unexpectedly charming, Tony Shalhoub's serene engineer falling for a shape-shifting Thermian who experiences human feelings as complete revelations, exists because Spielberg spent a day on set and noticed a performance worth developing. 9. The planet paved a road. The alien planet scenes, Nesmith's confrontation with the rock monster, the search for a beryllium sphere, were filmed at Goblin Valley State Park in Utah. Getting there was a problem. The access road to Goblin Valley was partly dirt at the time. Moving a film production across it was difficult enough. Moving it back out with equipment and crew was worse. The production paid the park's access fees. The park used those fees to upgrade the entire access road to asphalt. Galaxy Quest paved a road in Utah. The road still exists. Hikers and visitors to Goblin Valley State Park drive on a surface that exists because a film crew needed to haul camera equipment to a location that looked convincingly like an alien world. The rock monster was entirely CGI. The road is entirely real. 10. Alan Rickman sat with the Thermians at lunch. Missy Pyle was making her first major feature film appearance when Galaxy Quest went into production. She was a relative unknown, sharing a set with Sigourney Weaver and Alan Rickman. Rickman noticed. He made a habit of sitting with the lesser-known cast members during lunch. The actors playing Thermians, the supporting performers who weren't the names above the title. Pyle recalled it specifically. Rickman would find the people on set who weren't yet sure they belonged there and sit with them. Alan's Hollywood Reporter tribute described Rickman as someone who made everyone feel seen, a man whose professional formality existed alongside genuine warmth for the people working around him. The Shakespearean actor who initially hated the idea of a science fiction comedy became, by all accounts, the moral center of the production. Not on screen, on set. 11. Weaver told her co-star to steal the costume. On the last day of filming, Sigourney Weaver pulled Missy Pyle aside and whispered a single piece of advice. Steal your costume. Pyle relayed it to MTV years later. It was Weaver's shorthand for something she'd learned over decades in the industry. The physical objects from a production have a way of disappearing. The costume you wore, the prop you carried, once the shoot ends, once the film wraps, those things are harder to recover than you expect. Weaver had been doing this long enough to know. The advice was practical, specific, and came from someone who understood what it meant to have been part of something. Pyle, presumably, took it. 12. The catchphrase has a knighting that never happened. Alexander Dane is billed in the credits of Galaxy Quest as Sir Alexander Dane, as Alan Rickman decided the knighting was wrong for the character. The idea had been that Dane received an honorary knighthood from the Queen, a Shakespearean actor elevated by the British establishment before being swallowed by science fiction convention culture. Rickman didn't buy it. He thought the honor didn't fit the specific texture of Dane's bitterness and dignity. He pushed back. The knighting scene was cut, but nobody changed the credits. Sir Alexander Dane appears nowhere in the film. No scene establishes the title. No character references it. But the credits still carry it. An honorific that Rickman rejected, that never made the screen, but that survived in the final film's text regardless. It's the only knighting in the film. It belongs to the character whose actor didn't want it. 13. Star Trek fans voted it. The 7th best Star Trek film, Galaxy Quest, is not a Star Trek film. It is a parody of Star Trek. It has no connection to the official canon, the original series, the films, or the television franchise in any formal sense. In 2013, Star Trek fans voted it the 7th best Star Trek film ever made. It placed above several actual Star Trek films. It won the Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation in 2000, beating, among other things, The Matrix and The Sixth Sense. The actual Star Trek cast and crew praised it for understanding the franchise better than most entries that carried the official name. The film that wasn't Star Trek became, for a significant portion of the fandom, more Star Trek than Star Trek. Enrico Colantoni, Mathesar, has said he would prefer there not be a sequel, lest it tarnish what the first film was. His reasoning: to make something up just because we love those characters and turn it into a sequel, then it becomes the awful sequel. The Thermian leader is protecting the integrity of the film more carefully than anyone. 14. Alan Rickman is why the sequel never happened. By 2015, it was real. Amazon Studios had developed a Galaxy Quest television series. The cast was ready, Scripts existed, the plan was in motion. Then Rickman died in January 2016 from pancreatic cancer. Sam Rockwell said it directly. How do you fill that void? That's a hard void to fill. The sequel conversations went quiet. Then Tim Allen's television schedule created additional obstacles. The project stalled and has never fully recovered. Rickman never wanted to make the film in the first place. He found it beneath his dignity. He made it anyway, and turned Alexander Dane into one of his most quietly devastating performances. A man who learns that the line he's been embarrassed by for 20 years might be the most important thing he ever says. By GRABTHAR'S hammer, you shall be avenged. He delivered it once. It was enough. So, which one lives longest in your head? The F-word Sigourney. Weaver's mouth still says every time you watch it. The placeholder catchphrase nobody ever replaced, or Alan Rickman sitting with the unknown actors at lunch while everyone else orbited the stars. Drop it in the comments, subscribe, and hit the bell. More hidden histories coming your way. See you in the next one.